Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this. The podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers. Let's go.
Hi everyone, this is Ringside Rain and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. And now, here is your host, Mark the Mark Martinez.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Spotlight. I am your host, as Ringside Rain said, Mark the Mark Martinez. And I had a wrestler reach out to me, and I'm worried. I am worried because he is a little devilish, a little manipulative, a little crazy, a little I don't know. That let's find out, because I'm worried, because I sort of piss people off sometimes. But this wrestler, the one that you see in the thumbnail, Azrael Bloodmancer, has reached out, and I had to do my due diligence before all of everything, and I'm worried. I'm worried that something, a little spell's going to be thrown on me through the phone, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he wanted to talk about one of my past guests, JBD, which you heard about last week, and about, OCCW, which is Orange County Championship Wrestling, where legends are forged, okay? You heard JBD talk about him and how he helped train him and this, that, and the other, but there's just an eerie feeling on my part. I don't know. We'll find out. But before we can find out about all of that, don't forget, guys, we do have a WWE affiliate code. It's in the show notes. Go ahead and check that out. If you want the new LA Knight shirt, you want a new Becky Lynch shirt, you want any shirt out there, you know you're going to be spending some money to buy it. Click on our link. It helps support the show, and we thank you 100%. Sometimes you will get a discount. Sometimes you won't. We're very upfront with that. So if you want to support us and still buy your shirts, your belts, your whatever you're buying from the WWEshop.com, use our code. It helps us out. And if you want to look great at OCCW or any other organization in and around the world, head over to CrowdMade. You can buy a Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast shirt. Now, more news to come later down the line about that, but this OG logo, essentially, out there is on shirts, it's on hoodies, it's on tanks, so you can rep this one for now. Hint, hint. Okay? But we'll talk about that when the time comes. Because right now, we need to dive into this interview, why Azrael Bloodmancer reached out, and what we're going to be talking about. I have some questions for him. Regarding JBD.
Hey, y'all, this is the gatekeeper, the savior of the world. You're listening to the Can Crushers Podcast. Get that trashy ass out of here.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Guys, you heard in the intro how I'm a little worried. When a man's name is Azrael Bloodmancer, you wonder if he's going to be able to come through the phone, the computer, whatever, and eat you alive. So I'm excited to have you on, Azrael, but holy shit, welcome to the show? Question mark?
Oh, thank you for having me, Mark. You are right to be afraid. I can reach through many digital platforms, and I've had my social media deleted many times by the meta universe because of my manipulations of people through the interweb.
Yeah, you pretty much manipulated me, holding me down to do this podcast, correct?
Well, I needed to get on. If I have to get into your mind, I'll get into your mind. I was listening to you talk to my longtime student, also enemy, Jack Bruce Davidson. And I felt the need to also put in my side of the coin and also take some credit for a young man's accomplishments in wrestling, as wrestling trainers are wont to do.
Yes, and let's go there first, and we'll go back to you and learn more, because JBD is unbelievable. Since the interview, I have dived in a little bit more and watched some more stuff. I'm super excited to see what he does at the Sean Schultz tournament this coming weekend. But talk to me about him walking through the door first day. Throw him under the bus a little bit. Let's get some dirt on JBD.
Well, Jack Bruce, he's a very enthusiastic, very positive young man, and that's often an annoyance to me, in all honesty. Whenever I get there, he's already there doing his push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. I tend to demand that everyone do 500 before we begin other wrestling training, as I need to make sure that people really want to do this, that you have it in you. And he is one of the people that has stayed and definitely does have it in him to do this. I look at Jack Bruce Davidson much like a young version of myself, because I was once a young, enthusiastic man coming into wrestling training. And he has these bright orange shorts that he wears, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I used to wear the same thing coming into my day of training. Mostly everyone wears black or, some kind of shade of red or something like this. But then there's this guy with his bright orange pants, doing everything he's supposed to do. And it reminds me of what I used to be before, the wrestling business had driven me quite mad.
And quite mad is correct.
Yes.
Is correct. So, jumping way ahead, how do you think he's going to do? He's going coast to coast, essentially, to get into this tournament. Is he prepared for something this big? How do you feel he's going to do?
Well, I believe he's prepared. I believe I've beaten some of the grit and fire and determination into him. I've whacked him in the head with trash cans and ladders and chairs. And I think I've made him believe that he has to do what he has to do to win matches. He's won a tournament for us here in Orange County. He won the 2021 Bushido Cup after a long, grueling ordeal. But I'll have you know that I won the Bushido Cup this year after taking 2 forfeits and beating up a man that was basically helpless in the finals.
Was going to be brought up. It was on my notes. I do some due diligence, stalking you guys every once in a while. So you're pretty.
I play chess, Mark. I don't play checkers.
Oh, good. I like checkers with like Smurfs on them or something like that. Yeah, I'm still in like preschool most of the time, Azrael. I really am.
But if you're asking my opinion, I believe Jack Bruce Davidson should win this tournament. He has tournament experience. He knows what it takes to win now. He wrestled a wrestler with angelic powers, with great wings and great musculature. It's on our YouTube, OCCW Pro, if you want to take a look at that. But it's Jack Bruce Davidson versus I Am Divine. And they battled to a 20-minute time limit draw. But sadly, as the announcer announced, you have to win to advance. He did not say you have to try really, really hard for a long time to advance. It said, clearly, you have to win to advance, and he did not win. Therefore, in the second round, that was my second round bye, because of the hard work and determination of Jack Bruce Davidson.
Nice. You're pretty excited for this victory over essentially no one this year. Azrael.
I was. We've had the tournament 8 times, Mark. 8 times we've had a Bushido Cup tournament. And I've never won the Bushido Cup tournament. It's always some rising upstart young wrestler who's trying to make a name for himself. And I've won our championship at a Bushido Cup. I've contended for the championship at the Bushido Cup. I've entered twice and been sadly unsuccessful. But this was the year for me. This was the year that I got to snatch the golden trophy right out from the hands of probably much more deserving people. But I'm drinking out of it right now, Mark.
Good. All right, let's rewind back when you're little, Azrael. Who introduced you to professional wrestling? Mom, Dad, Aunt Sally, Uncle Joe? How'd you find this crazy sport?
The first wrestling match that I saw, I believe, would be in the year of 1989. I believe. Let's go all the way back, and I saw a Vader versus Brian Pillman on WCW Saturday night with my father, I believe, flipping through channels late in the evening.
Wow, that's not one that's talked about a lot, but I'm about 12 at that age, and I see it now. What made you stick and stay with that?
Well, I've never seen such a thing before. You have larger than life characters in the wrestling. I believe it makes the dreary 9 to 5 existence of most people worth it. That we can raise some exceptional individuals into the spotlight to become the greatest version of themselves through the crucible of combat, being able to become the best version of themselves, and the best version of me, of course, is the Dark Lord of Darkness, ruling over OCCW with an iron fist.
Okay. So as you grow up, do you kind of transition into, and I'm going to throw this out there, you slap me through the phone.
Sure.
Are you the Brood, the Undertaker, you're just the darkness of all of professional wrestling, right? That's your favorites.
I have evolved into all of those things. I was on a show once, and we were all given Attitude Era characters that we could be, and I was given the entire Brood. They played the music for me. It was one of my favorite matches. I got to hit the Impaler. I got to hit the Unprettier. I got to do everything that I wanted to do in a match, and I was a great fan of the Brood, and still am. Also, the Undertaker.
Right. Anybody else that you really stuck with as a child?
Sting, as the Crow, not really the Surfer Sting, but after he became nice and sad because of the NWO, I was more of a fan of the Stinger. Jake Roberts, the master of the DDT. Raven. I also do the DDT. I haven't beaten anyone with the DDT, but I do like to knock a man nearly unconscious before choking him, so it is useful to me.
Okay. So, growing up, were you into anything else besides, just watching wrestling? And were you into sports? Were you into blowing shit up? Were you into witchcraft? Or what was your childhood to get you prepared for professional wrestling?
All of those things.
Yeah,
all
right.
of those things.
I got you pinpointed.
Yes, I do enjoy blowing things up. I've blown up lots of stuff. I also people say what their dream was, the childhood dream. For me, I didn't imagine that I was going to fight the Undertaker necessarily, but I did believe that I would play basketball with Michael Jordan one day. I did have that ambition as a child, and for many years after that, even into the college age, playing the basketball.
Okay. So
and then I got into the wrestling. I got into the high school wrestling really big time at the age of 16.
Okay. See, I got into JO professional wrestling when I was a kid, and I really thought that I could go out there and, everybody has a singlet on in Junior Olympics, and, I'm like 12, and I'm like, oh man, where's the ring? I know we practice on this stupid mat,
yes.
But I'm in a tournament now. I should be in a ring. And I was the jackass kid, Azrael, that I put Macho Mark on the back of my singlet. My first match was against clearly a state champion for running years. And I was on my back instantly. Boom.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it was just boom. This is what happened. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for, Mom and Dad. I'm like,
you're working the gimmick, brother. You're already working the gimmick and already pissing people off.
Right? I'm like, where's the chairs and everything at? They're like, this is not what you practice is what you're supposed to do here. I'm like, this is stupid. I didn't want this.
Yes. It is not quite as glamorous. It's very, very sweaty. Dudes all up in your face throughout the thing, and the singlet's not the most flattering garment that I've ever worn, so I don't wear the wrestling singlet. I'm more of a a skeleton jeans type of fella in the ring today.
Yes, you are. Look at the thumbnail. That's a perfect picture that we have on a thumbnail. So when did you know, though, that, professional wrestling was your thing? Were you at an event? Were you just like, when you saw Jake the Snake, you're like, screw it, I'm just going this route the rest of my life. I just need to get there.
Well, I have had a very long, arduous journey to get into professional wrestling. At the age of, I read the book of Mankind's book. I was a big fan of Mankind, getting clubbered in the head 17 times at the Royal Rumble. I watched that, and I read this book, and then the first few chapters of the book detail his experience with wrestling school and his experience with independent wrestling, and I was like, I need to seek this out. I need to find out about this. I need to have some of these stories and life experiences for myself. So I went, this was in 1999. At the age of 16, I went to seek out a professional wrestling school in California, UPW. And UPW was the training ground for a young man named of the Prototype, who went on to become John Cena, who I saw on some of their shows. Also Samoa Joe, who asked me if I was lost. And Rick Bass.
You can't skip over that fast.
Yes,
That's a story.
Yes, it was in Huntington Beach, so that's a little bit a ways away from where I was at that time. So I go in, and these are the group of people that I am looking at in the ring. There's Samoa Joe, who's a very big, scary man. Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, other people. Alcatraz, who's a big giant man, Horseshoe, who's a big giant man, other people, 7-foot tall man named Othello, who I would wind up wrestling nearly, let's say, 15 years later for our championship. But at that point, Samoa Joe asked me, Rick, not here. Are you lost? Because I was 16. I probably looked to be about 12-ish. And he wondered who the hell I was in particular. So anyway, I got a call from Rick Bassman after I went home. He outlined the plan for enrollment. It was quite a large sum of money, Mark, more than I had. Yes. It was slightly more money than I had at the age of 16. So I kind of put those plans on the back burner at that point and got into the high school wrestling deeper and began to think that maybe I should fight people that closer to my own size, which always makes me think that the UFC would be much easier than the World Wrestling Federation or entertainment.
Oh, so you went UFC route for a little bit?
Yes, Mark. I wanted to fight people my own size. I thought that would be a good idea, but I was taking kickboxing for a while. This would be up until about 3 years. So 16 to 19 to 20. This would lead to me getting kicked in my head and slightly tearing my retina in one of the eyes, with the doctor telling me that perhaps you shouldn't do this particular line of work anymore. And being a foolish man at that point, I listened to the doctor, and I went into the more traditional road of karate and became a second-degree black belt in martial arts here in Orange County.
Wow. So after, your whole UPW experience and losing an eye like Rey Mysterio and becoming, Ralph Macchio and all of that.
All that happened to me.
When the hell do you get to train? When do you say, all right, Samoa Joe's not as scary anymore. I can now see John Cena. Mm-hmm. When and where do you get officially trained?
This would be all the way to 2010. So I had been...
Wow.
Yes, quite a while later, right? So at the age of now, we were 27 at that point. In the Orange Circle, in the martial art business that I had. And it bothered me that I didn't get into the professional wrestling. It was something that I wanted to do, but then wasn't able to do. And so I didn't know of any other schools in the area at that time in 2010. So through the Orange Circle comes a young man named of Rudy Rogers. Rudy hands me a flyer for a school called Mach 1 Professional Wrestling in Anaheim. And he is smaller than me. If you go to look up Rudy's about a 5 foot tall fella. And so I think to myself, well, if they're letting you do this, I could probably do this. And now I have this fighting experience, so I'll probably be able to defend myself from these gigantic human beings that inhabit the wrestling world. So I walk into the Mach 1 Professional Wrestling School in 2010.
And do you walk in with a little chip on your shoulder because of that? And were you humbled? Like, how did training go? What was hard for you to catch on with? Or did you not know at all? Because everybody, like Allen Iverson, you should practice. He doesn't, but how did it all go for maybe like the first month of training where you're like, oh shit, this is something that I didn't know?
For me, it was a great experience. For me, the cardiovascular conditioning of a wrestling match is incredible. It's the most athletic thing that I think anybody's ever done. You can look at very high level athletes. I always remember the Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor match.
Yep.
And Lawrence Taylor, he's a world class athlete. And he is being carried away by his friends after this match with Bam Bam Bigelow. He is blown sky high. He is in pieces. And this is a man that plays professional football. Professional football, you don't have to go for 20 minutes consecutively without stopping. You get, there's timeouts, there's a huddle, you get to sit down for a little bit. And we don't get any of that kind of thing. I missed, 3 minutes and then a round, 3 minutes break, 3 minutes break. And this is not that. This is running for 15 to 20 minutes of a guy trying to kill you. And it's a big difference.
Yeah, it really is. So talk about your first match. Was your first match a lot of Rumble or Battle Royal matches, or were you lucky enough? Because in and around our neck of the woods, that's what it is. You get thrown into a Rumble first to, get your feet wet in front of a crowd or anything. Or were you lucky, just boom, there's your singles match. Get going, kid.
I would say my first ever appearance was in a battle royal for an organization called IWL. A trainer of mine at that point, he talked to the promoter, he got me in. Get some gear, dress like this. I couldn't find. What should I wear? What do I do? What does this guy look like? And I went with the leather shorts. I got a nice long leather jacket, to the sunglasses, the whole 9 yards. And I went out there and, did my best in the Battle Royal. Wasn't the best appearance that I ever had. It would get better.
What about your first singles then? Because you're leaving that Battle Royal in the past. Do you have tape of your first singles match? Did you go back and watch it ever again? And you're like, oh man, who the hell is this kid yet?
Yes, I've my first singles match. Well, this is an even longer story. I'll tell you even more. When I started training in 2010, so I've been first. Let me shout out some of the trainers that were here. In the Anaheim area at that time in 2010, we were very, very stocked with talent from the independent scene. I think PWG was taking off at that time. My first day of wrestling school, my trainer was Joey Ryan. Hollywood's own Joey Ryan, right there.
Wow.
Was my trainer on my first day. Very patient man, very kind person. This, and I like to say to everybody about the controversy but this was before he'd been throwing anybody with his junk. Before any of that had happened, I remember the guy that worked really, really hard, the guy that took a Death Valley driver off the turnbuckle, threw a table on the floor, who was getting half killed by people like Super Dragon. I was there when he went to his WWE tryout that year, and the disappointment with that, and then the desire to have the need to have to do something different to stand out, and he came up with what he came up with, and it ran it ran well until it didn't, Mark.
Yes. I saw some of his early stuff, and like you said, it was great. He was who he was, and then he was who he was. So we'll leave it at that. Good.
And then Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae was one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. She was there when I got there. She was there when I left. Also, I got to wrestle Sean Ricker, who would go on to be LA Knight. Willie Mack, who went on to be Willie Mack. And so we were pretty stocked with talent on the show at that period in time.
Wow, that is a who's who of trainers and just knowledge that you have essentially in your back pocket. It really is.
Yeah, and people have all you have. I hate to say the famous names because it's not like I keep in contact with these people every day or anything. They probably wonder, oh, who is this? That type of thing. It's 15 years ago, but if people have done something good for you, you should go ahead and mention it. A lot of people have taken a lot of time and given me a lot of information over the years. Is what makes sure that I have all those names out there.
No,
Also, Kevin Martinson, who's Johnny Goodtime on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. You can watch that at any time. And then Jarrell Diaz, Jacob the Riot Diaz, who was instrumental in helping me get back into wrestling after, sadly, the owner of Mach 1, he had to close. So imagine this. I go to wrestling training. I've been training for 6 to 8 months. I'm about to make a debut. And then the wrestling organization there has to close and move because the owner there has a heart attack. I show up. The ring is gone. I wonder if this has been some kind of fever dream. And I have to go and hunt these people down to continue wrestling.
Oh, damn. This is a journey. This is a hell of a
Yes,
journey to get there.
It has been a journey, Mark. It has been quite the ups and downs for me. So whenever a kid comes in now to the wrestling school and they're trained for a couple weeks, couple months, it's going well, and they get to make their debut, and it's very smooth. I'm always I'm a little bitter, Mark. I'm a little bitter.
I would be too. I would be too. But I do want to say something. I want to say thank you because I try to get everybody that comes on the show to do what you just did and shout out everybody. If they listen, they listen. If they don't, they don't. But I want them all to get their props because without Joey and Candace and LA and everybody like that, Azrael wouldn't be here.
No, not in this form. Funny story. LA Knight, right? So like the first big bump that I take is from LA Knight, right? So like he grabs a hold of me and he's like, let's wrestle, kid. And he looks then as now, very muscular man. And I've wrestled in college, so I hear let's wrestle. So I shoot my double leg takedown at him, Mark, and I grab his legs, and I'm gonna take this guy right over. And then he puts it down on me, clamps down, and we got a shooter here, everybody, a badass. And he's laying on me, and he's a strong man, Mark, and he outweighed me by a goodly sum at this point. Okay. When I was beginning the wrestling training, I weighed 150 pounds. So I had a ways to go to put on. You want to be light for the fighting, the UFC, but man, you want to be heavy for that WWE. It's a big difference.
It is. After all of this, after everything,
Sure.
This is one of my favorite questions because I know you guys all have this in your brain, and gals too. I just mean that in general. Who is Azrael? If you could tell me 3 wrestlers, and don't give me the wrestling PC answer, I'm myself times 10 or 100. I know, I've heard it a million times. Give me 3 wrestlers. I think it's all the Brood and the Undertaker. I'll just throw that out there. Boom.
The entire corporate ministry probably, except probably Midian. I don't know. I don't. I have had some humor in my background, but I might delete Naked Midian from the list of people. If I have to cut it down to 3 people that I most like in the ring, I would say the Undertaker, which I didn't plan that going into it. You know what I mean? I look at him like I'm gonna be Shawn Michaels. I'm gonna be a flashy person. Then you get into it and you find out who you are. So it's Undertaker, Raven. I love Raven. That's a big influence. Also, I would say Ric Flair. When I was a young person, this is a story that I tell about Ric Flair. When I didn't get it, I was like, who is this old man and why are the NWO beating him up all the time? I didn't know the history, the backstory. But again, once you start to do the thing and you understand how the thing is done, you appreciate that man like no other. I started doing things, realizing it was the same things and the same reason that he was doing them.
Yeah. He's a genius. I think he needs to walk away a little bit. That's my perspective, nobody else's. But, he's done his thing, and he's done his thing for decades and has touched wrestling. But everybody needs to know when it's time, right, Azrael?
They'll probably drag me kicking and screaming away from the ring, Mark. If I have to tape these knees back together, I'll tape these knees back together. It's hard to be something if you've been something and that's all you've been for 40, 50 years. There's the time, There's the time when the retirement comes. Retirement happens and you're not doing this competitively every week on the largest stage. But if you do it once in a while after that, I've never hated on anybody for having matches after having, say, the retirement match.
Oh, no.
Because I understand that,
Yeah, I agree with that. You can have many retirement matches. I'm saying, like, when he was weekly again, and I'm like, oof, you're not a weekly guy anymore, Rick.
No, I think you expose the thing. You take a little bit of the specialness off of it if you put it out there every week. There was one. I remember right after Shawn Michaels came back from the back injury, right? And it's like, man, we're going to put this guy out there once in a while. It's going to be great. And then pretty soon he's on every match in Raw with every person. It's like, don't die on me. Don't die on me. Keep that alive. We need you in good working order here for as long as possible.
Yeah. All right, let's break from wrestling a little bit and talk about, Azrael, you're not doing anything wrestling related for the day. You're not worried about OCCW. You're not doing it. You're just chill for the day. What are some nerd things that you like?
All right. Well, I play the Dungeons and Dragons. I have Dungeons and Dragons group. I play that. I love the evolving storytelling that happens, much like wrestling. You take an event, you weave it into weave it into the narrative of what you've got going on, and keep right on going. We just produced. I was playing a campaign last week where we took over a whole dwarven fortress with my army of skeletons, and I was like, this is very true to life. Me conquering things with an army of skeletons, and I've always been a fan of that and painting all the figurines. I've got a bunch of the figurines laying around. You're an older fella like myself. You remember Oblivion? You've probably played Oblivion on the Xbox. Okay, yeah. Well they've remade it. They've made it pretty again. They've brought it into modern times, and I've been playing that even this morning.
Oh, nice. Good for you. So it's just a chill. You're me essentially, just doing your thing, but getting video games in as well. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm not that old of a stick in the mud, The kids on Raw are playing their video games instead of drinking Jack out of a bottle and threatening each other with a gun. Like, what kind of business is this? This isn't what I came into. It's like, if they would have had the video games in 1999 as nice as this, they probably would have been playing this instead of being, drunk out of their mind playing dominoes or whatever the case may be.
Touche. Touche. You're right. 3 random questions. If you could go to dinner with any 3 people that have ever walked the face of this earth, who would those 3 be, and kind of why for each one of them?
People like to walk with Jesus, and I think I'd like to walk with Jesus once and see, what do you think about all this? Is this what you had envisioned? Would you do it again? All that kind of thing. I'll probably ask him a couple questions along those lines. Have I offended you in any way?
No, because
not you. I mean, talking to the Lord.
Oh, talking to the Lord. Okay.
How do you feel about all the devil worship? Are you really mad? Or is that you accept things, so you're cool with it, right? And he'd probably be like, sure. Before hopefully he'd pick up the tab, I would think, and make some water into some wine, and I think that would be amazing. Who else? Well, Angela White, if you're familiar with the world of adult entertainment, that would be someone. Well, hey, Angela.
From one to the other is just so great. I can't wait for number 3.
I've got profound thoughts about life and religion, but also I just want to, look at somebody periodically and just be like, hey, how are you?
How you doing? Yeah.
How you doing? What could this lead into? What can I get out of this? I didn't buy this Denny's for nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, what else? Who would I have dinner with? Like you might hate the man, but if I could eat with Ric Flair, I could talk to Ric Flair about he's probably has a couple of stories stored up in there.
I don't hate Rick. I would love to. I
You want him to go away, Mark?
no, I want him to go not that way. My God, Azrael.
Oh,
I, wow. Um, I can I join you on all of this. First, you're the first person that's ever said Jesus. Two,
yeah.
you're the first person that's ever brought up an entertainer.
Everyone in their fake religiousness,
Right.
but you don't even want to meet the man.
Right. And Flair's been brought up before, so for a wrestling podcast, that's a great one. This is definitely the greatest foursome going out to eat. So yeah. By the way, it's all together. Like all of you are
all
together.
together.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to
one of
go
the round
individually.
table
Yeah,
things.
it's like a round table.
Oh, that makes it even more interesting, Mark. I mean,
exactly.
you got Rick's trying to pick up on Angela, and Jesus is trying to, maybe show them another way. And I'm sure Rick probably could ask some forgiveness from the Lord himself too, and they probably have a lot to talk about. Everybody all together.
Yeah, and you just sit back. You can just sit back and just enjoy.
Yes, I bring people together, Mark. I'm a connector of humans.
You sure the shit are. If you could switch careers with anybody in professional wrestling, who would you like to have, been in WWE, AEW, wherever you want to pick, anywhere?
Okay. This would be an interesting one. Chris Jericho. I would switch careers with Chris Jericho if possible. Because I think he's gotten to be everywhere. He's gotten to do everything through different eras of it. Performing at a high level with pretty much everyone that I can think of that you'd want to perform with at a high level with. So I think he's gotten to touch on pretty much everybody in every organization. ECW, he wrestled Sabu. I've seen that match. He got to wrestle, WrestleManias. Got to beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night. He's still in AEW to this day. Mexico, Japan. If I had the best career, the most fun career, I would say belongs to Chris Jericho.
I like that. 100% agree. My buddies asked me one time if I was going to be a professional wrestler, who would I want to be? Not like gimmick wise. I said this back in the day. I'm like, I want to be Hillbilly Jim. He was always around the number one. I'm not a number one guy. I don't need to be that. I like just being friends with everybody. He made a ton of money. He was always main event to, maybe even mid card. Sometimes he was wrestling with smaller people and it was a comedy thing, but he rode the wave. So I was like, I'm happy being Hillbilly Jim. I don't need titles. I don't need this, that, or the other. So that's my little spin on that question.
See, I like that. See, like I mentioned Hillbilly Jim as an example of something. I'm be like, when you have to send in like your blood work and a PDF to WWE to be an extra, you have to be a social media mogul and run your own podcast and be a jacked human being, professionally well put together. You have to have a resume with a cover sheet and all of this stuff and be very professional in professional wrestling today. I'm like, remember when you could just be Hillbilly Jim?
Right.
Like I could just be like a hillbilly from the mountains and the business would just put me in there and would beat up some guy with a sheep or something. And you could be like legitimately some kind of nuts.
Yeah. And then you just become friends with Hogan in the back and you're like, oh, this guy's now going to help main event something here or there. And then the next week, oh, you're opening WWF Superstars against Steve Lombardi.
Now, see, I'd love to be friends with Hulk Hogan. I'd be on the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
Ride around in that car that they used to have. And they just hop out and start just beating up Roddy Piper by the side of the road somewhere. Like, I remember those.
I have the whole, and I don't know how many people have a VHS, a VCR anymore, but I have the whole VHS seasons of Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. That might be my today. I should watch that today. Screw everything else in life. Let's just watch cartoons the rest of the day.
Hey, why not? You can't do it all day if you don't start in the morning,
Right. Last random stupid question, and this is going to go down a hill that I don't even, but it's written down, so I have to ask it now because I'm Ron Burgundy.
Shoot.
What would your last meal be if you're in jail doing things? What would your last
Oh,
meal
wow.
be?
Uh, I like a good steak. Can I get a good steak, nice and braised? Maybe some. I got some tortellini, even in the freezer now that I'd probably enjoy with nice red sauce, and perhaps some and human blood. Give me also a nice cup of human blood, because that's always nourishing for a person like myself. Go ahead and put all that together for me with some black candles. That'd be great.
Just grind it into a smoothie, and that's the way you're going to have it. All right, back to seriousness. If this podcast is,
Oh, you remember that frozen cake you used to get at the grocery store? I forget the name of it. Frenzetta or something like that. I don't know if you even have that in New York. Maybe it's a California thing. But they got this like
no, I've
ice
never
cream
heard of
cake.
this. Oh yeah, like
Ice
Dairy
cream
Queen
cake.
has it here. That's where we go to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. One of those. And then just like give me one of those with my blood also.
Okay, deal. What needs to change in professional wrestling? Because sometimes the pop culture still kind of, I think it's weaning away with Netflix and everything. Everybody's now on it, but what needs to still change in professional wrestling? Because you're at the supermarket buying something and they're like, oh, you're a wrestler. And the tone that comes with it. What needs to change so everybody's like, holy shit, you're a wrestler? Like us wrestling fans are.
Well, I don't want to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I probably will hurt a lot of people's feelings. The business is harmed by the presence of too many polite young men. I remember that's something that Shawn Michaels said. I get what he said. I've seen you watch all of the How to Make a Wrestler shows that they have on the TV. They have the cast of the Real World Road Rules on there. Basically, it's people in their early 20s, and they haven't experienced any failure. They don't have any misery. They don't have a dark, disturbing backstory that they had to crawl through out of the gutter to get into this business in the first place. Gunther's yelling at this Barbie-looking girl to have some grit, and he's like, "What? How much failure do you think she's ever experienced, man? Like, she's a good-looking blonde woman in her early 20s. She's never had anybody not fall down and just do whatever she wants them to do." So it's like you have to develop that grit and that fire and that intensity with years of disappointment. Matches are great. Matches are athletically better than they've ever been, but nobody's a crazy person in this sport anymore. Like I'm watching this show and I miss a lot of that. I miss Bray Wyatt being on the show a lot. It bothers me a lot. Somebody that's like, I had such high hopes for Lexus King with the terrible family background. I thought but then he just cuts his beard funny, and you can tell that he's a well-adjusted human being. And that's just not what we're looking for to be a draw in wrestling. If you want to be a draw in wrestling, if you want to make money, you have to have had enough. You have to hit some kind of psychological breaking point where you're not going to take this anymore from anybody. Stone Cold Steve Austin had great matches, great physical, G1 matches like you'd see on 15 times a show in AEW, and did not draw or earn a dollar until he had become so enraged by being jerked around and fired and lost the knees and the neck and the wife that he was just so full of hatred, come to the ring spewing profanities. And that's what the Attitude Era is. People talk about what the Attitude Era was. And it's these men that needed this to work. They didn't have 15 other shows in the same city making the same amount of money that they could fall back on if this booking didn't pan out. So every single guy knew that they had to draw money today. I had to do this today, or I'm going to work at a godforsaken Walmart somewhere. So it's people that were genuine, a bunch of psychopaths fighting over a big golden prize to be able to not have to work on a car lot. That's the kind of thing that wrestling misses, because I think so many people, and you see it in independent bookings, I see it all the way up to the top. Well, if I get fired from here, I'll just go over here. If I get fired from here, they'll just take me over there. I'll take 30 days off. I'll make an OnlyFans. Like, that's not then get out of the business. Then be gone. If it doesn't matter to you, then just be gone. But you go from one place to another, and there's just countless opportunities, and that's the problem. WCW Okay, first of all, everything from the Attitude Era is taken from ECW. And this
Correct.
is a group of people, everything from the Attitude Era is ECW based because they had been to WCW, most of them, and been told no. Then they knew they weren't going to WWF. Like Balls Mahoney knew there wasn't another option, so he had to go make this work today. Like New Jack knew there wasn't another option, so this has to work. So they were all in what they were saying. You didn't have to teach somebody to have a personality. He was a desperate human being trying to make a living and not, have to deal with life on the street. So the wrestling had to pay off. And that translates into the matches. Johnny Polo had already been to WWF and didn't want to go back. Shane Douglas was already nice and pissed off. So it's like all these people were already in a rage, and it's like not the barbed wires, not the barbed wire only, or the tables or any of that kind of thing. It's the sense of urgency, and we have to make this happen. You put a camera on somebody, and I can tell if you need to do this or you want to do this because you saw it on TV and thought it'd be fun. There's a difference there.
There really is. That is unbelievable. I love that whole concept. Yes. It's 100% perfect. You're right, because everybody ran through WCW and they weren't even going to get a look at WWF at that time.
No.
And Shane
No.
Shane got, oh my God, Shane up and down was just whoa. So yeah, I can see why he's pissed
Shane was
off.
radiating hatred at every other organization. Like he had to make this work.
Yeah. When you were saying like Bray Wyatt and everything, the first person that popped into my mind that we don't have a missing link. We don't have like a Baron Von Raschke out there doing that. I know they might try to do Rusev stuff again, but we don't have those psychopaths like you're saying. I agree.
Right. Like there's a couple of people on the show that I think can be driven in that direction. Let's say Jacob Fatu. Like I wouldn't sit next to him on a bus. You know what I mean? Like I don't see him giving a PDF with his blood work and being exactly on time to a place. I feel like some of these people you have to accept that they're a little bit outside of the box, and people outside of the box used to flourish in the business. Now, if you're outside of the box in any shape or form, it's have a nice day, or email's not in the proper format, that kind of thing. It's like if you can draw money, be involved. You don't have with Undertaker gone and Bray Wyatt gone. You're looking at this WrestleMania, and it's a lot of it's athletic people. It's people that you could see running a successful social media empire, like Logan Paul, AJ Styles. It's a lot of well-groomed, very well-produced human beings. Cody Rhodes is a well-groomed, well-produced human being, and he's only drawn money when he's coming across as some kind of crazy person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Craziness runs wrestling.
What's entertainment to people? It's looking at somebody who's different than the norm, and if you fit in. And the problem with independent wrestling and why people don't draw money as independent wrestlers is the guy would fit in. The guy can work his regular job, and the people at the regular job don't even think he's weird. Like I've had a regular job off and on, and the people thought I was some kind of nuts because I dress a certain way and act a certain way, and I'm some kind of nuts. So it's like I've drawn a little bit of money. If I were a bigger dude, I could draw even more money. But it's you have to have a little bit of that to you, or it's not going to work out you can be a guy on the card that has matches, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But, as a draw of money, there's been very few draws of people because you have to be a crazy person and
right.
A difficult balance.
Well said. Talk to me about OCCW, and I love the tagline where legends are forged. It just seems to hit more for me than, listen, I love OVW, I love this, I love that. The word forged just is so strong to me. So tell me everything about OCCW and why, the who, the what, the why, and all of that.
Well, I say forged. Like if you don't have grit in you, I will put it in you. If you don't have fire in you, I'll put it in you. If you haven't had adversity, you don't have adversity enough, I'll make sure that you do. Like I said, it's 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 500 squats. We do the amateur wrestling because I've done that, and that weeds people out before you make anybody take a bump. Mark, like you can. I learn a lot about you by having you amateur wrestle someone. Like I will say, lay on your back, be in the pinning predicament, and then see how long it takes before you give up and let him pin you, because that's what it takes. That's what wrestling will teach you, how to not give up when you're held down and in a bad position. You can always get your shoulder up for another couple seconds, until you get tired and give up. So that's one of the things that like I'm looking for and put in. And the people that have continued, and we've Jack Bruce Davidson is one. He's got a lot of determination to do this. To me, I don't want people to be at the wrestling school forever. That's something that you are learning a skill so you can go do it somewhere else. If you still imagine you're my son, and if you live here and you're 18, I'm going to kick you out. You're going to find your place in the world. I'm not going to have you live here with me until you're 30, and I don't want you in my wrestling school when you're 35 years old. Like get out of the bubble of safety that you enjoy, and he's flying on a plane. He's going to Tennessee right now, and I try to push that on everybody.
Besides JBD, because we've heard about him, is there anybody else? And you could say, I'm not going to name names because others may be listening. Like, why didn't you say me? Why didn't you say her? Why didn't you say
Sure.
this? Are there more that you're ready to say, get the hell out of my house? You're ready.
Big Bad Rickster on Instagram. I think Rickster's great. I think Rickster, he has a lot of fire. He has a lot of intensity. He's one of the best, most explosive workers that I've seen in the ring on any level. Go ahead and check him out on Instagram. I'm looking for more promos, and I'm looking for him to get on a plane and go somewhere else. I gathered we're in like the Anaheim area, like around Disneyland, basically. That's pretty close to where we are. And then I was taking everybody to San Diego on a weekly basis to go work in San Diego. And even the people, even that close, are amazed that people are driving an hour and a half to wrestle new people in a different place. This is a thing that I say, and I said it last night, and I'll say it again. I compare independent wrestling to a prison. You're supposed to be trying to break out of here. You're not supposed to get comfortable and live here with everybody.
Okay. I love your spin on everything. Because I never would have thought about independent wrestling that way. It's a prison, but you're completely right. That's why
I understand
you know your
that
shit.
it's dark. I understand that it's dark. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at all my skeletons and stuff around the room now, and I get it. And like people like a happy, positive spin. I think toxic positivity is something. Sorry, what?
Toxic positivity is something. Yeah, you're right. But
I think if
you're
you
being
surround
real.
yourself, if you surround yourself with people who tell you that everything you do is great, and you're happy with making not a lot of money, then you're always going to be making not a lot of money, and you can be comfortable, not making anybody upset by pointing anything out to anybody. You can pass the time comfortably, and then you'll wonder where the time went. I would rather you be taking a step forward in your career on a regular basis, and that's something that I say to everybody.
Taking a step forward also means sometimes you have to step back to reset, though, to get too ahead. Then, right?
Yeah, like if you you were talking to Jack Bruce, and one of the things that I remember is you were telling him that you don't really hear anything from anybody in California,
right?
And that's a true enough thing. And I asked everybody last night and last week with a different group of people. I was like, who do you know from this region that's on the weekly wrestling program making a good amount of money? From Southern California trained in the last 10 years, not the Young Bucks, not Samoa Joe. They were from Ring of Honor, and that's 20 years gone. Who is it? Are we not a populated?
You're very populated,
region?
yeah.
There's a lot of people that live in California, and there's not a lack of wrestling schools in the area. So what's the issue? What's the issue, everybody? And I ask everybody, nobody really knows. Like Brody King would be the answer. Brody King's from the Los Angeles area, and he's on the weekly wrestling program. And he's older than most of them. I think he's in his 36, I think, somewhere around in there. But he's the one that went out and escaped, and it's everybody's very comfortable to wrestle their friends in front of their friends. And if you're wrestling your friends in front of your friends, you're going to get polite feedback, and you're not going to hear what you need to hear. I've gone to tryouts for Impact, for TNA, for Lucha Underground, for Ring of Honor, all these kind of things. And the people that don't have to be polite to you will tell you the truth. They will tell you what's wrong with you, you know. And if you never hear that because you don't want to hear that because it conflicts with your worldview, that you're the most. I've heard this from a guy on a show with 50 people. I'm the most over face in California, and if you drew 50, then shame on you. You know, so it's like, and they will tell you. I've Delirious, who was doing a thing for Ring of Honor. He had a look at my work, and Vampiro had a look at my work, and Bob Evans, who's a mentor to many people, had a look at my work, and they'll tell you what's wrong, but you have to be man enough to accept that criticism. And if that pops your bubble and makes you think that's not toxic, people like to say like it's toxic, you're not being supportive, and if you're 100 pounds overweight, somebody should tell you you're 100 pounds overweight.
Exactly. Exactly. I am all for you, Azrael, because of this, because it's what we need. We have to stop sugarcoating, this, that, or the other. Even talking to my 18-year-old son, his mother will say one thing, and I'm like, dude, that looks like garbage, or this looks like. I love what you're trying to do, but do this. Well, mom says it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, mom is your mom. She's going to bake you a cake whenever. I'm the asshole of the family, so let me tell you, you need to do some more work. It's needed.
I believe there's a fear of making people quit the wrestling school because you want to be able to build these people forever, and I don't. I will. My business would flourish more by one of you being on the AEW or WWE television. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish with everybody. Big Bad Rickster is great. You can follow Kalinar, Kalenarrh. I think he's one of the best high flyers that I've seen around the country, not just in this level, but total. He's hit me with the 450 and all the backflips over the top rope on matches on our card, and I'd like to see him somewhere else. And I say that all the time, but like I can pick up the phone and call somebody for you, but they're gonna wonder why somebody else is talking for you. That's a red flag to me when people do it to me as the booker.
Yeah, agreed. Azrael, what's your greatest achievement? Have it be in the ring, out of the ring. Like, what's the greatest thing that you hang your hat on right now?
I genuinely, I look at the wrestling school that we have. We have a weekly wrestling show that we're going to be putting on starting June. It's going to be June 7, 14, 21, 28. Then hopefully all the way through July, August, September until people stop coming or stop wanting to do it. We did that last year and wound up taking off around the end of December. And now we're starting up again with now the new crop of students that are ready to be having matches on a weekly basis. I think it's important to me that people work on a weekly basis because that's when you learn how to work. It's a lot different putting matches together when you have to get up and do this again tomorrow versus when you're doing this as your fun experience for the month and you can lay around for 3 weeks after. So I think people put matches differently together when they have to, physically do this often.
And last question before I let you, whatever you want. I want your dream match. Who, where, what stipulation, all of that.
And they're at full health, full age. They're not
everybody's
in their prime.
Everybody's
probably,
in their prime. Yeah.
Give me a prime Eddie Guerrero. Give me Eddie Guerrero. I will take Eddie Guerrero. Like I think a physical performer and one of the better characters altogether, I would go with that. I think right size, right shape. I think we'd work out great.
Ladder match?
Okay, for Dominic. If I can win Dominic, if we go far into the past and you're offering me custody of Dominic, if I could, I would take that. I would take that bet. I'd love to own him today. I feel like they got in on the ground floor. And I would love to have him live around the house also.
Well, agreed. Did I forget anything? Give everybody your socials. Tell more about OCCW. Is it going to be on YouTube? How do we watch it over here on the East Coast? Yada, yada, yada. Anything that you want to regurgitate right now, go ahead.
Sure. Anywhere in the world that you might be, you can look at OCCW Pro. That's on YouTube. I have all of the matches from the last 3 years pretty faithfully cataloged. If you want to look up Azrael on YouTube, I'm all over the place. Azrael versus Rudy. Azrael versus Johnny Suave. Okay, I had a Hell in the Cell match on an independent level, which I feel like is one of the things that very few people get to do. If you want to check out that one, the promotion put together this large, not with a roof on it, but this big around the ringside area, not just the cage, swaying chain link fence. So if you want to see me jump off of that, go ahead and look up Azrael versus Johnny SAOVI on Destination 6's YouTube. You can see that match. Azrael versus Othello in OCCW. If you want to see me get thrown through a wall at a Legion post, that was great. This is a story of, okay, I'll tell you this, a Second Amendment match I had with Othello, okay? So imagine Othello, 7 feet tall, 300 pounds. Also, he's black. So as I'm yelling around and I'm yelling, terrible things about him, and I'm cloaked in the protection of the Second Amendment, meaning I can use weapons, but he cannot. I am legal, and if he hits me with something, he's disqualified. We go through the match. I'm hitting with an nunchaku, chairs, everything. I get thrown through a wall. You can see that. And then at the end, he hits me with a chair, and then he is disqualified. So if you want to check out that match, that's a good one. Also, OCCW, we're every Saturday night from 8381 Catella Avenue, 7 p.m. Go ahead and follow it on YouTube. We're on Instagram at the OCCW_pro_dojo. That has everybody's promos and information. You can follow from there.
Azrael, this has been a blast. We need to do this again to deep dive into why you did some of this stuff in some of the matches.
Yes.
And we'll have a watch along maybe about the Second Amendment match. So as I'm watching it, and I'm like, why did you do this and this and this? Because I think this could be a podcast within itself of just your knowledge, entertainment, and other things as well.
I do like explaining why I've done what I've done outside of a court of law or under the supervision of a therapist. You can't really, do anything to me. So I will tell you anything that you want to know. Also, like, if you're a wrestler and you don't look back at your past matches and see all the terrible things you did wrong, then you're probably not growing as a person, or you're just probably not paying attention to what you're doing. I like to look at things and wonder why. Why did I do that?
Yeah. We need to do one, if not multiple, because I need to know what's ticking in that head.
I had a match with when Rudy, one of my best friends, were having a ladder match, and did we need to get thrown down a flight of stairs? I could have probably cut that. You start to learn about wrestling when you look back at your matches, and I was making clips of everything, right? And you think, like, I get power bombed on the ladder, then I get up, I throw him into another ladder, then he kicks me off the ring apron, I eat the guardrail, he comes down, knocks me over the guardrail into the children, and this is a minute and a half of clip, and I could have probably pulled 5 or 6 minutes out of all that, Mark.
Yeah, and we can talk about the injuries that's come from it, and
live and learn.
Why the career is where it's at, and why you roll out of bed in the morning, you're like, oh, that was 10 years ago, and I'm still paying for it.
I'm back. See, when you're a young person, and this is what I tell people that are young today, you take the bump and you get up and you're fine, and you feel like nothing happened, and why not do it again and again, and you don't understand, and then you wake up 40, 41, 42, and you're like, why did I get thrown down a flight of stairs? I could have done something else. We're allowed to do anything that we want artistically in the ring. Why get powerbombed from one ladder onto another ladder? There probably was. I could have thought of something else now as a wiser human being.
A headlock takeover would have probably
solved the headlock takeover, Mark.
Right,
I teach the headlock takeover every class,
Right? Again, this has been a blast. Thank you, sir, for stopping by and entertaining the hell out of all of us. And again, when you, Jesus, and
Yes.
those others are going out to eat, please call me.
Yeah, quite a foursome I make.
Hey, this is the Barbie Killer, Haley Shadows. I absolutely hate can crushers, but I'm going to be on it, so stay tuned.
So that turned out a little bit different than I thought. Azrael Bloodmancer comes on and just has me essentially in stitches about a few things. Like, I ended the podcast, man, oh man, I want to go to dinner with him. But what a great, it is toxic with my air quotes that I have around it that some of you may think. It's real. It's real world talk about the training that you get at OCCW. And it's get out of prison. It is. It's go jump and jive elsewhere. Spread your wings and fly. I love that because everybody in today's day and age seems to be stuck. They want to be happy, as Azrael said, wrestling in front of her friends. Break that. Get out. Go do something else. It's kind of, live, laugh, learn, just in a different psychotic way, I guess that he would put it. But man, I loved this interview. I really did, because I loved how Azrael made sure, and I said it during the podcast, to give some recognition to everybody that's ever done anything for him. That just shows the vet and the wherewithal that he knows about professional wrestling. It's all about essentially paying it forward, in my mind, and then just what it means to get going and, your humble abode and move it forward. I knew I pegged him with the Brood and the Undertaker. Raven really threw me off. It didn't throw me off. I just forgot about Raven every once in a while. I don't forget about Raven. I love Raven. I love Johnny Polo. Seen him essentially 5 minutes away from my house. So, yeah, great interview. Great interview. A lot to sit down and take from it. If you're a professional wrestler, I would go back and listen to his training thoughts again. If you're a jokester and everything else, the dinner, the switching to careers, where I said I want to be Hillbilly Jim, I'll stick and stay with that for the rest of my life. And then the last meal got a little dark, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. Azrael, always welcome back on the show. I want to do a watch along with them. Maybe we can get Sir Michael Jenks in here to do it with us, and we can all kind of watch it together somehow, some way. We can figure that out. But what a great pick, and well wishes to JBD as he's in the air from essentially his trainer, most hated villain, and all of that. So I'm thoroughly excited for this one to be released. So guys, remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Make sure you tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know.